So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. No matter where you're joining us from, I see that most of the folks in this room are currently outside of Canada. So I'm really glad you're able to make it here today and join us for this presentation. My name is Yusei. I am the International Graduate Student Coordinator at the School of Graduate Studies at McMaster University, and we're looking forward to welcoming you here in May of this year. So before we get started, I would like to introduce you to the folks from Graduate Studies here today. So I am here as kind of presenting, and I will be also be taking some question and answers at the end of the session. But also I have my student resources team with me who are Judy. So Judy, you'll see Judy mostly in the chats. Judy will be posting all the links, relevant links that we will talk about in the presentation. So if you're interested in anything in particular, if you'd like to learn more about anything in particular, please look to the chat for links. And I also have Catherine. Catherine will be attending to the question and answers, the Q&A section in the background during the presentation. And I also have Andrea. You'll meet Andrea later in the campus services and resources section, where she will tell us a lot about what's available at the university. A few quick administrative reminders. Please put all of your questions in the Q&A section. And if you see a question asked by someone else that you're also interested in, please give it a thumbs up. Your thumbs up will help push the question up. So when we get to the live Q&A, those questions will be prioritized. We may not be able to answer all the questions because some of the questions may be for another department of the university or for your department or your program. And for these questions, we'll let you know who to contact, and we encourage you to contact them via email after this presentation. This event is currently recorded, and will be uploaded and shared at a later date. Okay, I think that's all the administrative reminders. We'll get started. First, I would like to start with the land acknowledgement. If this is your first presentation from McMaster University, you may not be familiar with this statement, but I hope that throughout your journey at McMaster University, eventually you will have this acknowledgement in your presentations and when you are sharing your experience as well. Let me read it first. It is McMaster University recognizes and acknowledges that it is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. This acknowledges the indigenous lands that the physical university, our main campus, sits on. And as international students, as visitors to the land, I recommend that when you come to McMaster, when you come to Hamilton, when you come to Canada, to learn more about this part of Canada, the indigenous part of Canada, because Canada is not just, poutine and beavers. This is also a very important part of the Canadian culture. Okay, so a quick overview of what we will be talking about today. The presentation is kind of broken down into 4 parts. The first part, I will talk about the School of Graduate Studies, what we do and who's here. And then my colleague Andrea will talk about other services and resources available for graduate students within the greater campus community. And then I will talk a bit about traveling to McMaster, including how to prepare for your arrival. And finally, we'll end with a Q&A session. So the School of Graduate Studies, if you haven't been to campus, this is where we sit, is called Gilmore Hall, and our office is on the 2nd floor. And it looks like this, where we have, a set of doors and a little sign that says School of Graduate Studies Office of Postdoctoral Affairs, GH212. So GH212 is our room number. If you ever decide to visit us in person to our front desk, this is what the door looks like. And please make sure to check our hours before you come in person. So within this office, it holds the Dean of Graduate Studies and the Associate Graduate Dean for all the faculties, as well as the central administration and resources for all faculties. So processes like admission and graduation, your PhD defenses, general overall graduate studies rules and regulations, any forms that you may need, and policies that you may reference throughout your graduate journey. We also have a scholarships and awards team, grad pay team, and of course, the team here today, the graduate student resources team. Currently, the best way to reach graduate studies, if you have a quick question looking for quick answers, is through our online chat. Our online chat is available Monday to Friday at business hours, and you can access it anywhere on the graduate studies website. And the little icon is on the bottom right of your screen, and it kind of looks like the chat with us icon on the screen. If you have a more complicated question, or if you wish to attach documents, or if you have already talked to us before and prefer to contact us through email, you can also email askgrad@mcmaster.ca. And some of the questions Ask Grad receives are questions and issues related to your enrollment. That's not program specific. So if you encounter a technical issue, and if you encounter technical issues with retrieving letters from Mosaic or student photo upload. If you wish to update your record, for example, if you have a name change or a citizenship status change, this is also where you would email to update your school records. And they can also share information on policies and petitions. Please note any program specific questions, like questions about what courses you should take or when is the first day of class even, they can vary from program to program. So please make sure to contact your program administrators, your graduate administrators directly if you have questions about specifically about the program or the faculty. Graduate scholarships. So all applications to scholarships are managed through this program called Award Spring. And you can see the login tile for Award Spring on Mosaic. You're going to get very familiar with Mosaic after you start your school, because almost a lot of the things, the administrative things about being a student is done through Mosaic. So through Award Spring, you will complete one application to be matched with all the eligible awards. And it also tracks the completion of any additional applications that you require in the same dashboard. If you have any questions about our scholarships, please contact our scholarships team at graduatescholarships@mcmaster.ca. As a graduate student, you often would also receive payments from the university, and the payments comes into two different kinds. The first kind of payment is your scholarships fund, so things like your entrance scholarship, department scholarships, and awards. So these scholarships are sent to you through email e-transfer. So what that means is you will need to update your bank information, your email information in Student Center and in Mosaic, because that is how the scholarship team or the grad pay team accesses your information to e-transfer you the funds. However, if you're going to be working as a teaching assistant, or if you're going to be paid for employment, this payment is issued by our Human Resources Department. To get these payments, you must provide your direct deposit information. So that's your bank information to Human Resources, and the payments will be deposited directly into your Canadian bank account. So if you're working and you're receiving scholarships, make sure to update your information in both of these areas. If you have any questions about the payments that you receive, please contact our grad pay team at gradpay@mcmaster.ca. As international students, working in Canada may seem a bit complicated because there are limits that are set for you by the Canadian government. Um, the conditions for you to work in Canada should be outlined on your study permit. So that is the study permit that you receive at the border. You won't, if you're not in Canada right now, you won't have this piece of document yet. But when you're crossing the border and get your study permit, make sure that your condition for you to work is outlined on your study permit. You must also have a social insurance number. Um, Sorry, let me attend to this technical issue that I just saw in. Sorry about that. So if you wish to work in Canada, you must have a social insurance number. And this is also something that you apply for after you land in Canada, because one of the documents you need to apply is your study permit outlining the conditions for you to work in Canada. In order to get paid, you must also have a Canadian bank account, as I mentioned earlier, to send to the Human Resources Department. So make sure you have that set up as well. And according to the grad policy, graduate level students, so this is not just international students, but all graduate students may work up to an average of 10 hours on campus to a maximum of a number of hours in a year. So this also includes TA and RA work. So make sure that you keep track of the hours that you're working on campus. Another way to find employment on campus is also through Mosaic. There is a tile called Career Opportunities, and, and and you can apply to a job that you're eligible to apply for through Mosaic. And sometimes your department and grad studies will also send out postings and notifications, and you may also apply for these kind of jobs. So, of course, we are still living in special times where the COVID-19 pandemic still exists. McMaster University just recently made an announcement to pause our vaccination and masking requirements starting May 1st. So if you're arriving on campus before May 1st, please note that our vaccination policy and masking requirements are still in place. And the changes noted will only happen after May 1st. And as these measures are on pause, it is also possible for these measures to be quickly reinstated depending on the situation in the city or the situation province. If it's reinstated, you may not be able to access campus or continue with your studies if you're not fully vaccinated. My colleague Judy has posted a link to the announcement in the chats. So if you wish to review it more closely, please go to that announcement. But please keep in mind, even after you arrive to the university, that these measures can be in place, and please make sure to stay updated through your email and through the newsletters that we sent. Here is some quick reminders of the key dates that you may encounter during your first month of your studies. May 25th is the tuition deadline. Make sure you pay your tuitions and all the applicable fees before May 25th, because if you pay after, there may be a late fee charge. And May 31st is the deadline to complete the SGS 101 and 201 courses. Judy will also share a link in the chat about tips to how to enroll in these courses. Okay, now I will talk a bit about our grad resources team. So as you know, I've introduced some of the folks in the team at the beginning of the presentation, and here's a little bit more about what we do other than, hosting presentations. The grad resources team, as the title suggests, we pull together resources for graduate students. So that could be events, that could be workshops or written resources, and anything that grad students will need in their graduate student journey. So topics that we have currently focused on are resources to help you facilitate your supervisory relationship, academic resources to help you succeed in the academic setting, wellness and community resources, and also professional development resources that are applicable for graduate students. Whenever we have new information available, we will also share it with all the graduate students at McMaster through email. So one of the ones you will receive on a weekly basis is the weekly, and I recommend for you to read through the weekly every week, just so you're up to date to campus news and the events that are happening throughout the week and upcoming events. Sometimes new scholarships and new job opportunities are also announced through the weekly, so I highly recommend this piece of email every week. And as new students, you may also receive information that's specifically for our incoming graduate students. As well, you might already have access to this resource, but we also have a very rich pool of recorded orientation webinars. So I highly recommend for you to visit our orientation webinar library. And some of our existing recordings include disabilities and grad school, services and resources for all graduate students. So it is very similar to this presentation, but delivered in the past for all graduate students. And other webinars include webinars delivered by the library about research skills, finding off-campus housing, and the really fun international graduate student question and answer recording from last summer. So if you're interested in reviewing these webinars, please use the link that Judy has been sharing in the chat to access this information. Next, I will talk a little bit about my role. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Yufei and I am the International Graduate Student Coordinator. This means my role in the university is to support all graduate level international students throughout their graduate life experience. What this means for you is if you encountered a question or encounter a situation where you don't know how to navigate, I may be one of the resources that you may want to reach out to help you talk about your experience, to help you point to the relevant services and resource that may help you further. I also plan programming such as this webinar and other events to address and advocate for graduate student needs. So if you have any questions or ideas, please feel free to reach out to me. You can always reach out to me through email. I usually respond pretty quickly. I might say so myself. But you can also book a one-on-one appointment with me so we can talk in a private setting. One of the initiatives I would like to highlight for everyone is the International Grad Navigator program. Registration is open now as of this moment, and this program connects you with another current student with similar cultural background or similar common language spoken, so you can get personalized support from another student and learn about their experience. And we found that this program has been really helpful for our incoming students because while I try to help all the students, I might not have the cultural knowledge of the entire world to provide specific support that you may need, where another current student may possess a wealth of knowledge that may just be exactly what you need to get your graduate journey started. Okay, now is enough of me. I will invite my colleague Andrea to talk about campus services and resources.
Thank you, Yufei. Hello, everyone. As Yufei mentioned, I am part of the student resources team, and I'm very happy to be here to share a little bit more about the wide variety of campus services and resources that are available to you as graduate students. So first and foremost, of course, we have International Student Services, which is available to all international students at McMaster. As Yufei had explained a little bit earlier, the services can include health insurance, plan administration, events and activities for all international students. There's success coaching, and there's an immigration and mobility advising that's available. These services are booked individually through a system called Oscar Plus, which Judy is kindly posting into the chat, and that's how you can connect with the International Student Services staff. Or you can visit the website at iss.mcmaster.ca for more information. If you have a disability and you would like to set up an academic accommodation, please connect with Student Accessibility Services as soon as possible before your classes or academic work begins. So accommodations for graduate level work can differ from undergraduate accommodations. So even if you completed an undergraduate degree at McMaster and had accommodations in place, you'll still need to contact SAS again to set up a new plan. And our grad studies website has information about types of disabilities and examples of accommodations, as well as tips on disclosing a disability in the academic or work environment. We have information about your rights and responsibilities and all of the relevant policies that pertain to navigating academia and workplaces with disability and accommodations. So if you're also looking to connect with other students who identify as having a disability, whether it be physical or mental, MAD identifying or neurodiverse communities, you can please visit the page on our website that has more information about that as well. Additionally, if you have a teaching assistantship or any other type of employment on campus, then you require accommodations for a disability, these will be requested through Human Resources. We also have within McMaster career access professional services, which can help you with navigating accommodations and provide guidance on how and when to disclose a disability and more. So in terms of health and wellness, there's a variety of plans and health plans that graduate students access. So I'll briefly touch on the main plans here. So first of all, there's UHIP, which is mandatory for all international students and their dependents. And this is your universal healthcare coverage that covers the cost of visiting a doctor or emergency hospital visits. You will need to contact UHIP in order to set up your plan for students who are starting in May. Then we have the Student Wellness Center, which is the campus health services where you can visit a doctor or a nurse or access mental health counseling. These services are paid for through your UHIP plan or student fees. So you don't have to pay anything out of pocket to visit the campus health services to see a doctor or mental health counselor on campus. There are some types of healthcare expenses that are not covered by UHIP or the Student Wellness Center. And there's additional coverage insurance that you have access to and that you pay into to access those additional services. So those additional services covered through the Graduate Student Association Health and Dental Plan include things like prescription drugs, visiting a dentist, physiotherapy appointments, massage therapy appointments, or other types of complementary medicine. So there's two types of plans available. There's the Graduate Student Association Health and Dental Plan. As well, for teaching assistants, there's a plan through your teaching union, QP 3906. So to find out more about the coverage and how to access those additional plans, please contact the Graduate Students Association or QP directly to find out more information about what is covered. In terms of spiritual care and coming to the McMaster campus, we do have a spiritual care and learning center, and this is a service that covers religious, indigenous, and spiritual observances, which we have a policy for as well. And it's really a multi-faith resource that is available to students. And you could access the Spiritual Care and Learning Center to find out more about where the prayer space is on campus or make community connections. There's also an organization called Student Open Circles, which offers community volunteer experiences and reflection, as well as access to spiritual companioning and other types of circles where you can connect with other students, connect through a mindfulness practice, creative expression, and ongoing discussion. We also have an informal grad parents network for graduate students who are coming into grad studies with children or who become parents during their time in graduate school. So you can connect with other grad parents on the Grad Parents Facebook page, and you can complete a survey to help us learn more about the types of services available and that the community is interested in as grad parents. University technology services. So your Mac ID, everyone is issued a Mac ID, and this gives you access to services such as your McMaster email, Microsoft 365 suite, and off-campus housing portal. And a little bit more about Office 365. So applications like Word and Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams are free for students with a McMaster email. And also good to know is that some classes and appointments will take place on Microsoft Teams. As far as teaching and learning resources, the McPherson Institute for Teaching and Learning offers classroom instructional skills. We as well as offers a teaching and learning certificate program, training for teaching assistants, workshops, and there's a weekly McPherson memo, a weekly email that you can find out more about what's coming up in terms of your skills for teaching and learning at McMaster. Additionally, in terms of academic resources and scholarly writing support, we do have a writing center on campus that's available for one-on-one appointments. You can book with a writing tutor, and also workshops, graduate level writing workshops are offered there as well. Additionally, we have some online resources that you can access, such as an online module for an introduction to graduate level writing and a thesis writer's toolkit, and that's available on the Grad Studies webpage, which Judy has linked the site in the chat, and you can find out how to access the Writing Center through that page as well. Additionally, the McMaster Office for the Development of English Language Learners, otherwise known as MODEL, offers free service available for all English language learners and newcomers at McMaster. So this includes lessons and workshops and support to improve English language proficiency. One-on-one help is available to address individual student needs as well. Libraries and research skills. Graduate Studies has a specific Grad Studies librarian, and you can connect with a Grad Studies librarian for one-on-one support or navigation of the library resources. There's also a fairly comprehensive webpage that outlines the many resources available to graduate students in accessing the libraries. You can book on a research consultation, you can access help for citation management, and that's through the webpage that Judy's linked in the chat. And there's also a space in Mills Library on the 4th floor that's dedicated just to graduate students and postdoctoral fellows. It's a dedicated quiet space where you can go and work on your writing or any independent work. We also have a variety of specialized research and innovation centers at McMaster. And so we recommend checking those out, as well as remote support for library services as well. Financial planning is available through Max Money Center, where there's money coaches, one-on-one meetings with an accredited money coach, and workshops as well. Those are booked through Oscar Plus. If you require emergency financial support, there are services available to help you out. If it's an emergency financial situation and there's negative circumstances outside of your control, you can contact the registrar's office to see what support could be available to you. And as well, the Graduate Student Association has some grants or bursaries that are available that you can find out more about through the GSA as well. Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office promotes, supports institution-wide commitments to equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. This includes human rights and disputes resolution, inclusion and anti-racism education, an accessibility program, sexual violence prevention and response, and as well as the McMaster equity inclusion policies around accessibility, discrimination, and harassment, and sexual violence. There's a lot of resources available on the Equity and Inclusion website as well. And if you need to reach out to Equity and Inclusion Office, please do so through their website. And I think that might be it for me. So I'll hand things back over to you, Yufei.
So much, Andrea. And we do know that we covered a lot of things in just the past 30 minutes. And by no means are we expecting everyone to memorize everything. So this webinar will be recorded. And as well, you can also visit our graduate studies community resources page to access all the information that we have shared. So please don't feel obligated to take notes or to feel like you need to know all this information before you start grad school. If the key message we would like you to take away from today is there are a lot of supports and resources available. And if you ever feel like, you yourself is not enough to to address a situation, or you feel like additional help and assistance with anything, there is probably somewhere on campus that you can go for help, and folks at the offices will be happy to help you. Okay, so for this next section, I will talk a bit about traveling to McMaster. So I will break down this section into two smaller sections, I guess. So at first, I will talk a bit about what you can do to prepare for your arrival, including some of the observations and tips that we've received from current or former international graduate students that they found helpful. And then, of course, I will get into talk about more about the current arrival processes and travel measures for entering Canada from the Canadian government. First of all, what to pack? In the quick short answer is it really depends on where you're coming from and what your needs are. So some of the common items that we found from our connecting with our current international graduate students are power adapters. If you're bringing electronics from your home country and what you're used to is not the same as the power system used in Canada, a good power adapter might be helpful. If you have existing medical conditions, or if you're on some kind of prescription, a doctor's note or your personal medicine is always helpful until you can arrive in Canada and find a doctor and get regular checkups and prescriptions sorted out. Sometimes food reminds folks a lot of home. So when they're feeling homesick, they take out the food, the non-perishable food and snacks that they bring with them. One word of caution from our current students are that sometimes you can find some of these snacks and food items in Canada. So please make sure that you can to look into if you're able to access some of the common food and snacks that you prefer from home in Canada, so you don't take a whole suitcase full of them and find out you can find the same things in our Canadian grocery stores. And make sure to have copies of your official documents and emergency contacts with you, and also with a family or a trusted person, because just in case you lose an important document, it's always easier to replace a document that you have copies of instead of trying to convince, a government official of your identity and who you are. Some consider when you're packing for your trips to Canada are, the prices of some of the items in your home country and in Canada. One thing might be helpful is finding grocery stores in Hamilton and just looking at their flyers and looking at their weekly promotions to see in general what are food prices like in Canada, or what are the prices of common household items in Canada. And sometimes it may not be worth it to bring something from your home country, or sometimes it may be very valuable to bring some things from your home country comparing to buying it in Canada. And also, Canada is known for is very harsh winters, and so please make sure, if you're not from a place where the climate is similar to Canada, some of the clothes you currently have may not be appropriate for the Canadian weather. So please make sure to look into that and know your own comfort levels with the weather. And we found that weather is also always, a great topic for small talk, but also a very important topic when students are preparing to come to Canada any other time other than the summer. Luckily, it seems like most of the folks here are planning to arrive in Canada for the May semester. So we might have an easier time adjusting comparing to the group of students who came in January. In general, April and May are the months in Hamilton where things are starting to warm up. Snow is usually non-existent, but on one of those days you might still see it if you're here in April and May. And the temperature usually ranges from 0 degrees to 15 degrees and gets warmer in May. And just from our personal experience, we found that the temperature can vary on a day-by-day basis. So we always recommend to still have, some sort of jacket ready, even if you're arriving in May. There will also be fewer students on campus during the May to August term, because most of our undergraduate students are on summer break. So you're more likely to see, when you arrive on campus, to see, a scene closer to the picture on the slide with the pretty flowers, and not a lot of people on campus when you arrive in May. But in September, you will notice a lot more students will be on campus, and the campus atmospheres will be a bit different and more lively in September. I will talk a bit more about housing. So this opportunity is exclusive for students arriving in the summer, because usually in normal academic years, so that is September to April of any year, our on-campus housing is occupied by first-year undergraduate students. So currently, the on-campus housing opportunity is only available through the summer months. This is great if you're looking for shorter term housing while you're looking for long-term housing. So there are two options available. The first one is the student summer accommodations. This is an on-campus housing that is exclusively for McMaster students. So you will need your MAC ID to access this housing. And what it is you will be able to stay at one of the campus dorms or on-campus residences for a month or 2 months or a term at a time. And so the benefit of this service is that it is student housing and is right on campus and is offered at a rate exclusively for students. If you're only looking for a few days to stay on campus while you get settled or while you find your permanent housing, Hotel McMaster is another option that you may access. It is more expensive than the student summer accommodations if you break it down by day, but the benefit of Hotel McMaster is it is still on-campus housing, and you are more flexible in terms of you can determine how many nights you want to stay there instead of committing to a full term or full month at one time. There are also a few off-campus housing resources. So the first one is the McMaster off-campus housing website. This website collects postings from landlords who are often around campus, and you can use your Mac ID to access these postings. There are also other student-led groups on social media where McMaster students share their own postings or look for roommates through these social media groups. And also, I highly encourage you to review our Finding Off-Campus Housing webinar for tips and recommendations for your housing search journey in Hamilton from folks at our International Student Services Department. Okay, now is the piece that everyone or some of you are waiting for. How do you get to Canada preparing for your arrival? So before I get started with the content, I would like to note that this information is accurate as of this moment. I won't even say it's accurate as of today because the government can possibly send out another update later today and this slide will become outdated. So please note when we're talking about traveling and travel measures, it is always as much information that we have from the current information that's available. Judy has shared a link to the International Graduate Student Traveling to McMaster page, and I highly recommend for you to review that website for the most up-to-date information, because as soon as we hear an update that may impact your travels, we will update it on that page as well as in Arrival app. So in short, a quick overview of a typical arrival process to McMaster consists of 4 steps. So step 1 is for you to gather all the documents, including the letter that indicates that your study permit is approved and your passport, and purchase your plane tickets to determine when is the best time for you to arrive in Canada and purchase a plane ticket. Once you know about your travel plans, when you are going to arrive, you will declare your arrival date with the university through the iSend app. Information about how to sign up for the iSend app is available on the International Grad Student Traveling to McMaster webpage. And at this time, you may not be required to complete your quarantine, but the government scroll requires everyone to have a quarantine plan. I'll talk a bit more about this when we go through each of the steps in detail later. After you have declared your arrival plans with Canada, you are essentially good until 72 hours before your arrival. So within 72 hours before your arrival, this is when you declare your arrival with the Government of Canada through the ArriveCAN app. And after you arrive, you may be subjected to take a COVID-19 arrival test after you land. So before I go into details into each of the steps of the arrival process, I will highlight this requirement from the Government of Canada. Again, this requirement is accurate as of this moment, and if anything changes, we will make sure to post it on our website. Currently, one of the most important arrival requirements is that all foreign nationals over the age of 18 must be fully vaccinated to enter Canada. If you're not sure that whether if you will be considered fully vaccinated, please use the link that Judy has shared in the chat to the government website to determine if you're fully vaccinated. On that webpage, the government lists a list of acceptable vaccines that you may take to enter Canada. So please make sure to check this list and see if the COVID-19 vaccine that you have received is acceptable for traveling to Canada purposes. In order to be considered fully vaccinated, it must have been at least 14 days before after the final dose of your vaccine before the day you arrive. So even if you receive a full course of vaccines, you must wait for at least 14 days before you can board the plane to Canada. Your proof of vaccination must be in English or French. If your proof is currently not in English or French, you will need a certified translation of it in English or French in order for it to be accepted by the Canadian Border Agency. So now we'll talk about each of the steps. So while you're preparing for your travel, one of the most important documents you have is your approved study permit. So, your approved, a letter that indicate that your study permit application has been approved. So this letter, depending on where it was issued, it could be called the letter of introduction or the port of entry letter, also known as the POE letter, or simply a letter confirming your study permit acceptance. Please make sure to have this letter with you when you arrive at the border, because the border services agent will review that letter, scan that letter in order to issue your study permit. Make sure that you always have your offer letter with you when you arrive, as well as any official travel documents such as your passport and personal IDs. If the Canadian Visa Office has told you to bring any other letters or documents when you cross the border, please make sure to do so. Usually, students arrive about 2 to 4 weeks before the start of their class. If you're planning to arrive earlier, earlier than 4 weeks before your class start time, I would also recommend to have a good reasoning to let the border officers know why you're arriving early. Next, please make sure to review your airline's policies before you purchase the plane tickets, especially during these pandemic times. Sometimes things can happen with traveling and flights may get canceled without notice. So please make sure that you're familiar with your airline's policies. Next, after you book your plane tickets and you know when you will be arriving in Canada, please let the university know by declaring your arrival plan on the iSent app. So the instructions again are on the International Graduate Students Traveling to McMaster page, and you do not need to email me to manually let me know about your plans, but we will have access to your arrival declaration through the app. There will be a series of guided questions on the app. So as long as you go through it and answer them, you'll be fine. No additional information will be required. And according to the current requirement from the government, everyone arriving needs to have a quarantine plan just in case that the border agent determines that they will need to quarantine. So you may plan to quarantine at a private residence or book a hotel room to quarantine. And I always recommend students to use a government assessment tool to check if their private residence is suitable for quarantine before booking a hotel, because oftentimes it will be suitable, and it saves you the cost of a hotel room because quarantining at a hotel is currently not required. If you're fully vaccinated and if you don't show any symptoms, and also there's no other folks showing symptoms on your plane, you are likely to not required to quarantine, but a plan is required just in case if something happens on the plane or if the border agent determines that you must quarantine. Make sure to download and complete your travel information on ArriveCAN within 72 hours of arrival. The 72 hours is important because if you want to complete it earlier than 72 hours, unfortunately, you cannot do that at this time because the ArriveCAN system will only open up to you within 72 hours of arrival. And ArriveCAN is also where you will upload your proof of vaccination before you arrive in Canada. So I highly recommend, if possible, for you to do it before boarding the flight, because you won't be able to cross the border without an ArriveCAN receipt. And it's not recommended for you to do it after you land in Canada, because it could be a really kind of tiring process, especially after a long flight. As of April 1st, 2022, so it has passed April 1st. So currently, all fully vaccinated travelers into Canada, they do not need to complete a pre-arrival COVID-19 test. So if you're arriving, I guess now until this measure for some reason changes, you do not, and you're fully vaccinated, you do not need to complete a pre-arrival COVID-19 test anymore. After you land in Canada, you may be selected at random for a COVID-19 test. In the event where you're selected, there will be instructions at the airport, so please, or at your port of entry. So please make sure to follow the instructions. If you're not selected at random to take a test, you will not be required to take a test. According to the current measures, if you're fully vaccinated, you also do not need to isolate after if you're selected to take a test and you're waiting for your test result. So please make sure on the day that you arrive, a prompt will appear on your iSend app asking if you have arrived. So please make sure to declare that you have in fact arrived on the iSend app, and that is how university will have access to confirm that you're safe arrival. And here are a few things that you can do after you have arrived just to prepare for your life in Hamilton. Some of the things that you may complete online is apply for your social insurance number. During the pandemic, the government highly encourages folks to apply online for their social insurance number instead of through mail, because it is a faster process, and mailing requires you to submit all your original documents, and it could take some time and mail could get lost. Currently, some of the Service Canada offices are open and accepting social insurance number applications. So if you wish to apply in person, please make sure to check the Government of Canada website to make sure that your local offices are open and accepting these applications. Make sure to update your information on Mosaic, so things including your most up-to-date address, your most up-to-date phone number, so we can reach you if needed. Make sure to also activate your UHIP, so that's the health insurance plan that Andrea mentioned earlier. If you're arriving with your dependents, like your spouse or your children, please also make sure to add them to your UHIP plan by emailing uhip@mcmaster.ca. There are other things that you may be required to be complete in person. So in order to open a bank account, you may have to go to a local bank to open a bank account. And if you wish to drive in Ontario, you may also wish to go to a Service Ontario or Drive Test Center to get an Ontario driver's license. So this is all for the arrival process. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or put them in the Q&A box for this presentation. Some of the next steps after the presentation I would recommend is to sign up for the International Grad Navigator program, review past recorded webinars in our webinar library, and please make sure to read the emails from your program and graduate studies because email communications is the best way for us to reach out to you, and you will also get the most up-to-date information through your email.